guys, it's really cool to be here today with my lovely friend Steph, and we just wanted to talk to you today a little bit about Steph's journey and IVM, which is something I'd never heard of before until Steph told me about her journey. So it's really cool to have her today. Hopefully this will be helpful to some of you who are either thinking of IVM, what it might look like for you guys, or if you are like me and have never heard about it before, then hopefully this is helpful for you as well. So thank you very much, Steph, for coming along today. So Steph, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll know her better.
Know me better. My name's Stephanie and I'm 32. We started, I'm married.
Cool.
So me and my husband got married when I was 24, and we started trying to have kids when I was 26.
Cool.
And my husband's actually a year younger than me. Toy boy.
Yeah. Awesome. And you've got a little boy as well.
And we have a little boy. So my family history, I have a family history of PCOS.
Okay.
So my sister had to have Clomid to have her kids. She has 2 children.
Right.
And she's a couple of years older than me. And my cousins also have fertility issues as well.
Okay,
it
so
goes in the family.
You did have some problems conceiving your son as
it
well.
took over a year.
Okay.
And we did 4 cycles of Clomid.
Mm-hmm.
And they got me to ovulate. I didn't actually ovulate at all.
Wow.
Except on the Clomid.
Mm-hmm.
So I did 4 cycles, but I didn't get pregnant.
Right.
And then they hadn't actually tested Glenn, my husband, yet. So they then said, right, we'll actually test your husband to see if he has any issues. And we got his results back, and he came back as having a low sperm count.
Okay. So that's a good point. Don't just get yourself checked out. Make sure you get hubby checked out as well, because that does play a big factor into it.
Yeah. Because we knew I had problems, and so we kind of worked on that side.
Yeah.
But
sure.
Glenn also,
Okay.
had issues.
So that's cool. So we've talked a little bit about the infertility journey, and you guys are in the process of trying for a second child, and that's been a bit longer.
Yeah.
So how did you hear about IVM? M like for Mel, not for, no. Just go with that.
So we went, when we started trying for our second child, which was straight after having our first, we didn't go on contraceptives at all, because we knew that we wouldn't. I'm an obsessive internet Googler, and I look at fertility things. I can't remember when I first came across it. It might have been through my aunt who works in hospital. Yeah. And so she often, says this or that.
Cool.
So it might have been her discussing it, or my mother who looks up articles as well. And but I first heard, and then we just looked up online and found out about it.
So who's IVM for? Like, who do they kind of target for IVM, or say this might be something you want to do?
So IVM is really designed for women with PCOS.
Okay.
Because it's designed to get harvest the eggs and collect the eggs before they're ripe, and so you want to have a lot of follicles.
Okay.
And so it's done with very low stimulation. So you basically, if you've got PCOS, then you've got the follicles there anyway.
Yeah.
And so it's basically getting those eggs out of it without actually taking them to fully ripe.
Right, okay.
In New Zealand, which is where we are, IVM is only done by one person.
Right, okay.
And that one person is Simon Kelly. This is 2014, in case this goes historic.
Somewhere down in the description bar, if I say the date.
Yeah. So, only person at this time is Simon Kelly.
Okay.
And he's in Auckland.
This is not government funded?
No, this is not.
Okay.
So this is still deemed an experimental technique. It's it's quite new, and until it has very clear outcomes, probabilities, guidelines, target groups, Yeah.
Right. So, Steph, can you tell me why you and your husband decided to do IVM? What was the deciding factors for you guys in doing that? Because it is an expense now that you guys would have to factor in.
Yeah. So basically, IVM is kind of like baby IVF in many ways.
Miniature IVF.
Yeah. We had my son in 2010, then we tried to have another kid. Though, to be honest, when Grant was about 3 months old, I was like looking at my husband going, you better not get me pregnant.
Yeah.
Not sure I want to be pregnant quite yet.
Yes, yeah, sure.
So we had zilch happen in 2011.
Okay.
2014, around my son's second birthday, I did get pregnant
Okay.
again, but I had a miscarriage.
Okay.
So that was actually on the day I went to the doctors to get my forms for my scan.
You have had a pregnancy in between.
Yeah.
Whatever, between your son and whatever happens now with the processes that you're going to be going through.
My husband wasn't prepared to look at IVF
Okay.
at that stage, so we did the climate because I was happy with that.
It's a pretty intensive process, so you can understand.
Yeah,
and it doesn't have a good rap. It's always not talked about very well.
And it's hard as well because I don't react well to drugs.
Right.
Like they,
Don't do drugs, kids.
So all the medications,
Yeah.
they really mess with me emotionally. And because we've already got a child, it's an extra person to consider in the whole thing.
Yes.
And so I can't say not be a mother in order to try to have another child.
Yes.
And so it's just balancing.
That's true. Yeah.
And because I got pregnant naturally with Grant.
Yeah.
And because I got pregnant again, even though I had a miscarriage.
Yes.
You cling to this hope that you're going to turn around 1 month and it's going to be the month.
Yes.
And going to be pregnant.
Yeah.
And so we waited it out to the end of the year. I had an agreement with my husband that we were going to discuss it the next year.
Yes.
So I knew that it was going to be on the cards.
Okay.
And that it wasn't going to be shelved indefinitely.
Right.
So come January, he was actually going, yes, IVF does seem like the right option. Or an option.
Yeah.
And by this stage we'd heard about IVM as well. And so we were quite keen on looking at that.
Yeah, because it's obviously less drugs. So
It's less drugs, and I don't react well with drugs.
Yeah.
We got eligible for public funding then.
Yes.
And put on the waiting list.
Right.
And I knew at that time it was going to be 18-ish months.
Okay. So just to also clarify, Steph is in a different group to me. I am with Fertility Plus and you're with
Fertility Associates.
So there's actually different fertility clinics within New Zealand, and then depending on your birthday,
yes,
will depend on which group you go with. So when I got on the list, the waiting list was 12 months for Fertility Plus. For Fertility Associates, it's around 18 months.
That's partly because it's been an extra year though between going on the list. The list seems to be getting longer.
And that's another thing to consider, ladies. If you have some fertility issues, and we're talking about maybe if you've been trying for a year, the standard year, go and talk to your gynecologist, your GP, and start getting on the list because, waiting a year for me was difficult. Waiting 18 months, and who knows how much longer that's going to be in the next 6 to 8 to 9 months for people. It could be 2 years that people start waiting.
In Hamilton, it's 20 months.
20 months, so there you go.
Hamilton Tower Industry.
Yeah, and Wellington's got the shorter one?
Wellington, I think it's about 12 months.
12, okay.
People I've heard. And I think Dunedin's slightly short.
So those are just things to consider. Where you're living is going to be very different for everyone, and this is again only something I learned from talking with Steph. Just to be aware of. So don't wait. If you're scared of IVF, and that's the other thing that Steph said before, even if you're not keen on IVF, get on the list. And if you get pregnant in that time, that's fine, but at least you're on the list.
Yep.
And
you can cancel later when your number comes up.
Exactly.
But if you wait till you get on the list, you're still going to be waiting.
Till the time you've actually decided to go to IVF, and then you've got to wait another 2 years. I mean, that's just save yourself the heartache is what we're trying to say. Go and get all your tests done and all that stuff. Don't worry about things. Yep. It's not about worrying, but we're just trying to save you, I guess, from the heartache that we've had to endure. Yep. From the struggles that we've had with infertility. Yep. On the waiting list.
We are on the waiting list.
Yeah. Okay, and then so kind of walk me through IVM, like from beginning to end, what the process was for you with your guy. Is he a gynecologist? Is that what he is?
They're all gynecologists, obstetricians.
Okay.
They're qualified as both.
Right, okay.
Fertility specialist.
Or
reproduction. With IVM, A, less drugs, which I liked. B, contribution to science.
Yes. Yay, science!
And because we live in Auckland and the doctor's in Auckland, I mean, it's a lot cheaper.
Yes.
At the moment, I think because it's experimental, it's so discounted.
Yeah.
It's less than half.
Less than half. There you go. So whatever your IVF is, think about it less than half.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a slightly more pay as you go system, so it also depends on your success.
Talk us through February.
So February we went in for our consult.
Yep.
And approved for our public funding.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously
we're switching to the iPhone camera because me, the genius, did not charge my camera. So now it's on charge. So until it's got a bit more life in it,
you'll get chop and change.
It's the up close and personal version.
The variety filming, you know. it's
Let's talk from February. So talk us through just the process of IVM. So what's the first thing you do after your consultation? You go on the pill?
Well, I had to go on the pill.
Okay, but not everyone.
It varies.
Okay.
So it does vary from person to person. What happened is I went in for my day 1 scan.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the day 1 scan showed that I had a functional cyst, which is... Yeah. So it's the leftovers, if you ovulate and you make a corpus luteum.
Yeah.
If that's, I think is how you pronounce it.
Sounds good.
Then that normally disintegrates by the time you get your day 1. That's one of the reasons. It has to stop producing as many hormones in order to get, your period.
Mm-hmm.
So, my won't hang around. And because it's a hormone-producing sac of fluid, I wasn't allowed to start fertility treatment with that because they interfere.
So that was the end of that treatment cycle.
That was, let's do a scan, let's see if you're ready to go this month. Nah, it's a bust.
Okay.
So the day 1 scan for IVM is, are you able to start or not?
Okay.
Went home, about 8 weeks later, I got another day 1, and so we came in again, and another cyst.
Okay.
At this point, it went from being, you're just, really bad luck.
Yes.
To... I think you might be one of these women who always get a cyst post-ovulation. So now we have several options. You can wait another cycle and hope that you don't have one.
Right.
Or you can go on the pill. So we decided to go on the pill for a month.
Okay.
You phone in day 1 and then you get scanned between day 2 and day 4.
Right.
Let's think of it as being a day 1 scan. That scan was actually on day 4 because it was on the last possible day to scan that he normally scans on. The other ones had always done on day 2.
Okay.
But he has other clinics on commitments.
Yes. Well, if he's the only one in New Zealand that does it, I'm not surprised. He's busy.
So it was a day 4, and it worked out bad timing for my husband's work, so I went in by myself.
Okay.
And that was, yes, the pill worked. You don't have a cyst. Yes, we've got 23 follicles.
Awesome.
Sitting there, ready for priming.
And 23 is good.
23 number. With no drugs. Not so good.
I had to take a lot of drugs to get that number.
But they were little.
Yeah. So
that
you were
day
all go.
4 really was all go.
Awesome.
I was then given, moved over to the nurse's office who showed me how to do gonal-F injections, and I had to start that night. I had to take drugs Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Yeah.
Injections. And then I was for a scan on the Monday.
Yes.
And egg collection was Wednesday.
So it is a really fast
It was
turnover.
less than a week from the scan.
There you go.
Yep. I had the scan on Thursday, all on for egg collection on
Wow.
the following Wednesday.
So it goes
very, very fast.
From like 6 weeks with IVF to 1.
Yep.
There you go. Happened at your egg collection. Did you get any collection?
Yeah, so it was booked in on Wednesday.
Yes.
And because IVM's a longer collection than with IVF, I was told, I can't confirm because I haven't done it, that IVF's around 10 minutes.
Yes, and how long was yours?
20 something.
Okay.
And
I was so high.
well, basically because with IVM, I think because they're small follicles, that they have to keep jabbing the needle, like it gets more gunk in it, so they have to take it out and clean it and put it back in again, and so they don't do you under doulally right, but they actually just basically had me under.
Oh, okay.
So
that would have probably been better. So how many follicles did they get?
Well, they evacuated all 23 follicles while I was under.
Yeah.
And they only got 5 eggs.
Okay, so
very unusual. He was very disappointed with the egg collection.
And I'm sure you guys were as well.
Yeah, I was still recovering from my happy dreams.
Yeah.
It made me feel so happy. Couldn't really process.
Yeah.
No. But when I heard that I had 5 eggs, I knew. Like, for IVM, it is harder to get the eggs than with IVF. Because when your egg, sticks to the side of the follicle, and I think when it matures, it's sort of more free floating.
Right.
And so when you suck out all the fluid.
So it was more stuck to the side, possibly.
It's, so it is harder to get them because they are more sticky and hard to get. But 23 follicles should have given me more like 12 eggs. Statistically
at least
speaking.
Half. You would think you would get at least half.
They expect to get a half.
So they fertilised the 5.
Yeah, so no, because IVM you have to mature them.
Oh.
So they're not mature eggs.
So that
is one of the big differences again with another fall off. That it's harder to get them at the egg collection. And that you then have to mature them. So they ripen overnight in the lab. I had to take some of my blood on the Monday scan.
Okay.
They drew my blood and they made that into a serum to grow the eggs.
Okay.
And so we got the phone call the following morning about how many had ripened.
Okay. And how many was that?
Or was that in the evening? I can't remember. And we only had 2.
2. Okay. So
out of our 5, we had 2 mature.
So from 23 follicles to 5 eggs.
To 5 eggs.
To 2 mature eggs.
To 2 mature eggs.
Eggs. This is not even, they haven't even been fertilised yet.
So there were only 2 eggs by the evening that they were able to fertilise.
Okay.
So 2 mature ones.
And how did they progress?
They were very apologetic on the phone and they kept the eggs till the next day. They're like, we kept them just in case they're mature, and they were giving them every shot they could.
Yes.
And the following morning they were both fertilised.
Fertilised. Awesome.
So we had 2 eggs and both of them fertilised with ICSI.
Okay. How did they progress?
That was good. So that was on the Friday.
Yes.
So that's... Then by Sunday, we get our day 3 update.
Yes.
And we found that both of them had stopped developing.
Okay. Obviously, IVM wasn't successful for you guys.
Yeah. So on the Tuesday, day 5, we had the phone call to say, yes, they're definitely dead. And can we throw them out?
Yeah. So what was, what's the doctor's name?
Simon Kelly.
Simon Kelly. So what was Simon Kelly's suggestion to you guys? Did he say, try another one, it could work? Or did he say, this is it for you guys, just wait for IVF?
On day 3, when the embryologist phoned us, she actually said, obviously it's not working. And she said we'll probably be told, IVF,
wait for IVF
do full stimulation with my result.
Yeah.
When Simon Kelly phoned up on the Tuesday, after the lab phoned up with the results, he said that probably my best option was full stimulation.
Okay.
So full IVF. And basically it's down to my really poor egg retrieval. I could have done another round of IVF.
Okay.
And Simon did say he was happy to, if I wanted to do another round.
Yes.
But he also says that my best chances
IVF.
IVF.
Okay. So it didn't work for you guys. But you've already said that it has been, you're glad you did it.
Yeah.
So would you recommend IVM to a lady or a couple that have PCOS, low sperm count? You know, because it's all got us talking about it, but
Yep.
and kind of saying it didn't work for you. But is it something that you would recommend to other people?
Personally, yeah.
Okay.
I would. If you're thinking about doing something privately, it's something more affordable to do while you're waiting for the public funding. And if you have to be under 35,
Okay.
and have a good follicle count, so you got to be PCOS, not just mild.
Okay, so some serious PCOS going on.
Well, if you're normal PCOS, you have high follicles.
Okay.
So
So
just
it's
the same
very-
as IVF.
Yeah, it's very similar to IVF, but there are benefits to it if you have PCOS, that it's a lower cost, especially because it's done in America and Canada, as far as we know, anyway.
I'm not sure what the cost is like there.
No.
One of the reasons IVM generally is cheaper, because you don't have to fork out for the drugs. And the drugs are costly.
So that's another thing to consider. So IVM might be good for you if you are, one, have PCOS.
Yes.
Two, if you're considering a private treatment as opposed to being in a public system.
Yeah, because you can't do it publicly.
You can't do it publicly, okay? So it's cheaper, it's less drugs, it's less invasive on you. It also means that it's also a quick turnover. I mean, from 6 weeks for me to a week.
Yeah, if I'd been able to start, if I hadn't had a cyst,
Yes.
so if I'd just gone in, I would have been able to start basically straight away as soon as I get a day one.
There you go.
And it was 1 scan, 3 injections, 1 scan, egg collection.
There you go. So,
And my husband had to come on the following day
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
fertilise.
So it is still a very new
Very, very new in New Zealand.
experimental way of maybe getting pregnant. So it is
If
something.
money's not an issue, IVF is a better chance of
Right.
getting pregnant.
Yes.
But if you have a low sperm and you have to do ICSI and you're looking at $13,000 plus any frozen embryo transfers you may have to do in the future,
Yes.
at $1,700 a pop,
Yeah.
then financially
It could be
much more affordable.
Yeah, it could be much more affordable for you and your husband or your family. Something to think about, because look, it isn't easy. Whatever process that you do, it's still going to be stressful and it's still not going to be fun all the time. But if it's something that might be more affordable for you right now, you kind of look at the IVF expense and go, there's no way we're going to be able to afford that. Not even in the immediate future or whatever it may be. It might be something that if it's it's almost like nearly a third of the cost of IVF, and it might be something that you could look at that might work for you. So PCOS is one of the conditions that you need to have.
Under 35?
Under 35, and sperm count doesn't really matter.
Sperm count doesn't matter, but it is ICSI.
Right.
And so if you're doing IVF without ICSI, it's cheaper.
Right.
But if you have to do ICSI anyway, it's already covered under
There you
the
go.
cost.
Okay. So that's all we wanted to share with you today, was just kind of Steph's experience with IVM, a little bit of her story and how things are going for her. So Steph's on the waiting list now for her IVF treatment.
Ends up being 17 months.
17 months altogether.
Wait,
So when
in
is
1 year,
Yeah. So when is your expected
July
start
next
date?
year.
July next year. Okay, so please keep Steph in your prayers.
Or cancellations of women
yeah.
who've got pregnancies.
Yeah.
That
Or that
shuffle
Steph
out
will
of
just
the
get
waiting
pregnant
list.
naturally.
Yeah,
That'd be cool.
That'd be cool too.
Just so that, because I think it's really cool to have this kind of network, this family online that we can share these things with, the struggles and things that we're going through. And I'd love to be able to kind of do this, interview people more and hear their journey. And maybe when we hear more from Steph, we can interview her again.
Oh yeah. So if you've got questions, I'll come
Yes.
back for a question and answers with Mel.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. You might have some questions for IVM, like how there might be some things that we didn't discuss that you'd like to hear more about, things that you might want to know and understand about the process, or how do you find the, what's his name again? I keep forgetting his name.
Simon
Kelly. How you can, what's he like, some more information about him and his practice and things like that. So yes, we're going to leave it there. But hopefully this has been helpful to you guys, ladies. If there's anything that you want to know, please questions down below would be awesome. Or if you don't want to ask a question in the comments section, I have my email address down below for you guys, and even if they're for Steph, that's fine. Put them in there and I'll forward them on to Steph so she can be able to answer them, because I know sometimes it's a bit public to be sharing your story in the comments bar. So feel free to use that email address if need be.